Hey everyone, welcome you all. In the today's video, we are going to see a few important questions from Selenium WebDriver. One is how to perform mouse operations in Selenium WebDriver, and then we'll see how to perform right-click action, double-click action, drag and drop action, and finally we'll see mouse over actions. So to perform mouse operations in Selenium WebDriver, we have a special class called Actions class. So by using actions class methods, we can perform the different type of mouse related operations like right click, double click, drag and drop on mouse over and etc. So now we'll show you a few examples how we can perform these operations one after another. So there is a actions class which is already available in Selenium WebDriver and which contains a number of methods. And by using those methods, we can achieve it. Now we'll see one by one. So first let us start with the right click action. So to demonstrate the right click action, what I'm going to do is I'm just starting one small application, and here you can just look at here I have a small button, and when I do normal click nothing is happened. When you do right click here, which will show you multiple options here, and when you do only right click action, then only these options will be displayed. Now let us see how we can do this. Go to Eclipse, and I already created my Maven project. In the pom.xml I already added two dependencies. So one is WebDriver dependency, the other one is Selenium Java dependency. Now let's create a new class under my package, and here I will name it as right click action. I'll name it as mouse right click action. Let's take a main method and then finish. So as soon as you created a new class, the first thing is we need to set up the browser and then driver. So for that I'm using WebDriver manager. I say WebDriver manager dot, I'm setting up the Chrome browser. So I say Chrome driver dot setup. Say dot setup. So this will set up the Chrome driver, and then we need to create a WebDriver instance. So for that I say WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver, and then semicolon. So we have to import this Chrome driver from org.openqa.selenium.chrome, then import this WebDriver from org.openqa.selenium. Now by using this driver instance, I'm launching my browser by using get method. So here we have to pass the application URL. Let's copy this and pass it in the double quotations. So as soon as I launch my application and I'll try to maximize the page, I say driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. So this will maximize the page. So now as soon as you maximize it, I want to perform the right click action on this element. So when you perform the right click, then you will get these options like edit, cut, copy, paste, and so on. So before doing that, let us try to inspect this element. So when you do right click on this, you will not see any inspect option because this is having a right click functionality. So press F12 function key from your keyboard, which will give you HTML of this page, and then take this inspector and highlight this element. And this is the actual element, and go to the selector hub and get the XPath of the element, and take the XPath of the element, and now find that element. I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify that XPath and store this in one variable. So I'm just creating one variable called button, and the type of this variable should be web element, because find element method will return the web element. So import this web element class. Now we capture the element. Now we need to perform the right click action on this element. So to perform the right click action, we have to use a special class called actions class. So for any kind of mouse related operations, we can achieve by using actions class methods. So we have actions class actions. I'm just creating one instance of actions class called act equal to new actions. So whenever you create an actions class object, this required a driver. So we have to, this will internally invoke the actions constructor. So that needs your driver. So I'm just passing the driver as a parameter. Now we need to import this actions class from org.openqa.selenium.interaction. So this is a class. So once you created an instance of actions class, then we can access all the method from this act. So when I say act dot, you will see the build, click, and context click, double click. So you drag and drop. You can see all the actions class methods here. So now we are going to perform the right click action. So we need to take one method called context click. So this is the actual method which we'll use for right click, perform the right click action. So I'm taking act context click, act dot context click, and here we need to pass the element on which element we will perform the right click. So we already taken this element, so I'm passing here. So act dot context click and button. So this will perform the right click action on the button. But to fulfill this action, what you have to do is we need to use one more method called dot perform. So when I use this perform method, then only the action will be completed. Okay, so some people will write build dot perform like this. I say dot build dot perform. Some people will write like this, build dot perform. So build, when I say build dot perform, what happens is first the build method will create an action, and then perform method will complete that action. So build method will create an action, and perform method will complete that action. So instead of using two different methods, build dot perform, simply when I use perform method, what happens is in the perform method internally, when I go to perform method script, internally it is calling build dot perform method. So instead of writing build.perform directly, you can directly call just one method called perform method. So that I can write here. So instead of build.perform, instead of writing two methods, you can just write only perform, which already include build.perform. So this command, this particular method will create an action and perform the action. So now let us try to execute and see whether it's perform the right click action or not. So this particular statement will perform the right click action. Now right click, let me run it, right click, run as Java application. Now it is started. Chrome driver was started successfully. Launching my application, launching the URL. Now you can see it is successfully right click on the button. So now it will show up all the options in the sub menu. So edit, cut, copy, paste, and delete. Okay, so this is a right click functionality. So this is how we can perform the right click. So the method which we have used is context click. So this is a method which is available in the actions class, and through the object we are able to access that method, and we pass the element. Dot perform is a method which will create and complete the action. This is a right click action. So now let us see one more action called double click action. So how to perform the double click action? Now let me take one more example for double click action. So to perform the double click action, let me show you one more application. Let's go back to the Chrome, and I'm opening this application. And if I just look at here, there are two frames are there. So in the second frame, and if I just look at here, there is a field 1 and a field 2. So in the field 1, there is a default text which is populating. And when you click on this copy text method, copy text button, nothing is happened. So when you perform the double click, the same message is copied into the second box. So this is happened only because of double click action. So when you perform the double click action on this copy text button, then only the message is copied into the second box. Now let us try to automate this. How we can perform the double click action we will see now. So let's go back to the Eclipse. Now what I will do is I'll just copy this particular piece of code till here, and I'll create another new class. I'll name it as mouse double click action. Mouse double click action. Take this main method and say finish. All right, so here as usual, first we need to create a WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver setup, which will set up the Chrome browser driver. And then I create a WebDriver instance, and then we need to launch your application. So let us try to launch this URL. Go back and then specify the URL of application. So this particular URL will launch this application. So in this, these fields like field 1, field 2, this button. So these elements are present inside the frame. So if I just right click on this element and inspect, and this is actually a button. So this is my field 2 and this is my field 1, and these things are under available inside the body. Now if I just go up little, this is HTML tag because this is a frame, iframe, and this is present inside the iframe. So before interacting these elements, first of all, we need to switch to the frame, and then we can interact with these elements. So let me just use this iframe ID or name, whatever it is. Let me take the ID, and first let us switch to the frame. So here I'll switch to the frame by using switch command, driver dot switch to dot frame. And here you can directly pass a name or ID of the frame, and that's it. So driver dot switch dot frame. So this command will switch to the particular frame. So once it is switched, then let us try to interact with this element. So in the field one, by default, there is a value which is populating, and I want to clear this value. Then I can pass my own value. Then I'll perform the double click action here on this button. Then the same message will be displayed in the second box. So let me inspect the first element, and there is a ID is available. So field one is an ID, or you can just take the XPath from the selector hub. Let me take this XPath for the field one. So let me identify driver dot find element by dot XPath, and specify that XPath and dot. So let me clear this element first, and after clearing, and then on the same element, I'll pass some value by using send keys method. And here I can pass something called welcome to Selenium. All right, so I'm just passing another text. So you can also store this element in some other variable, and you can use that variable also, but instead of writing two times, and you can just write one variable like this, and then, or if you want to use one more variable, you can write like this. Store this element in one more variable. I'll say web element field one. All right, so this is my field one, and now import this web element. So now you can say field one dot clear, and then field two dot send keys. If you want to store that element in one more variable like this, you can do. So first I cleared that element text, and I'm just passing another text. And as soon as I have done this, then we need to double click on this button, and then the same message will be copied into the second field. Now how to perform the double click action on this copy text method, copy text button. So let's inspect this element first of all. And so there is a button XPath, a double click on double click function internally it is calling. So you don't find any other attributes other than this. So what we will do is, let's go to selector hub once again, inspect this button, and you can see here this is the XPath which is given for that button. And go back, first identify that element. I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, and specify that XPath, and this is a button actually, so I'll say web element. Okay, now we need to perform the double click action on this particular button. So to perform the double click action, which is actually mouse operation, so we have to use a actions class. So let's create an actions act instance variable equal to new actions, and we need to, every time we need to pass a driver instance inside the actions class object. So we need to import these actions from org.openq.selenium.interactions. So once we have done this, we need to access one method. So from the act object, I can use one method called double click. So this is the direct method which is available. So act dot double click, and we can pass the element on whichever you want to perform double click. And this will not complete the action. So to perform the complete action, we use one more method called perform. Act dot double click button dot perform, or you can use act dot double click button dot build dot perform. And if I directly call perform method, internally it is calling build dot perform. So instead of writing build dot perform, you can directly write perform method. Right, so let's try to execute it. So this particular statement will perform the double click action on this button. Immediately the same text whatever we passed here, the same text will be displayed on the second field 2, that is the second input box. Now let us try to execute and see. Right click, run as Java application. Now Chrome driver was started successfully. Maximize. Now observe this. So now we can see here in the first field which is already clear, and we provided some value, and the same text value which is displayed in the field 2 because it's performed the double click action. Okay, so this is how we can perform the double click action by using action class method, which is double click. So this particular method performs the double click action. All right, so this is about double click action. So now we will see one more action called drag and drop. Sometimes we need to also do drag and drop in our applications. So now we'll see how to perform the drag and drop action. So for that, let me take one more application to demonstrate drag and drop. And here I have one more application. Let's open this application. So if I just look at this particular page, you can see different capital boxes are available, and the other side country boxes are available. So we need to just drag and drop. So for example, from the capitals, I want to move this Rome to Italy like this. And similarly, you can just Washington to United States like this. So you can just drag and drop. So now we'll see how we can perform this drag and drop option. So let's create one more script. And here I will name it as mouse drag and drop action main method and say finish. So as usual, we need to copy the WebDriver manager and then driver instance we have to create. And I'm just copying that from another code. So WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver dot setup, then driver instance is created. Now let us try to launch our application by using driver dot get. And here we have to pass the application URL. Copy this URL and paste it over here. And this will launch your application URL. And then so we need to drag and drop the element. So to perform the drag and drop, we need to know the source element and target element. So for example, Rome, I want to drag into Italy. So Rome is a source element, Italy is a target element. So first we need to capture the source and the target elements. So let us capture the some attribute of the Rome, inspect the Rome. And you can see here there is a ID box 6 is available. So you can use ID, XPath, whatever it is. And let's try to inspect this element. So I say driver dot find element by dot ID, and I can pass this ID called box 6. You can also use XPath, and this is my source element. So here I'm storing as a web element at a Rome, which is actually source element. And so import this web element and we capture the source element, which is a Rome actually. Similarly, I'll capture the target element, which is Italy. So let's inspect this Italy, and box 106 is the ID. You can also take the XPath of it. So let us capture that element. I say driver dot find element by dot ID, and the ID of this Italy box is box 106. So I say box 106. So this is one more element. This is our target element, web element, and this is our Italy, and then I'm storing here. So now we have a source element and we have a target element. So now we have to perform the drag and drop. So to perform the drag and drop, again we have to create a actions class instance. Actions act equal to new actions, and we have to pass a driver instance in it. Now import this actions class and also this one. And once we have done this, we have a special method that is act dot drag and drop. So direct method is available. Act dot drag and drop. So inside this method, we have to pass two elements. One is source element and target element. So Rome is a source element I'm passing here. Italy is a target element I'm passing here. And to complete this action, we have to call perform method, or you can use build.perform. So this particular statement will perform the drag and drop option, drag and drop operation. Say drag and drop operation will be performed. So only thing is we have to capture the source element, target element, and pass those two elements in the drag and drop method. That's it. Now let us try to execute this. Run as Java application. We'll see. Started Chrome driver, launched my browser, open application. Now you can just notice here, Rome is moved to the Italy. So similarly, you can also drag other capitals into corresponding countries. So this is how we can perform the drag and drop by using this particular method. Sometimes your application may have something like images. So you can also drag and drop images. Now let me show you one more example for drag and drop with images. So let me show you one more application. So where we can drag and drop images. Go back to your page and launching a different application. And here you can just look at here. There are multiple images are available. So you can see here 4 images are available, and other side there is a trash window. So you can just drag these images one by one into this trash. So for example, I can do like this. So I moved the first element into the trash. Now similarly, I can move another element into the trash. So this is also a drag and drop, image drag and drop. Now we'll see how we can perform this. Go back to the Eclipse and I'll create another class and I'll name it as mouse drag and drop images. And now click on finish, take main method and say finish. So here we have to create a WebDriver manager and then we have to create a driver instance. Let's copy these two statements and keep it here. So WebDriver manager.chromedriver.setup, which will set up the Chrome browser and then which will launch our Chrome browser. And then I'll launch my application driver.get and I can pass this application URL and pass it here. And as soon as you pass the application URL, I'll try to maximize the page. I say driver.manager.window.maximize. So this command will maximize the page now. So as soon as it is maximized, then what is our target is we have to move these elements to the trash. So I'll try to move first and second elements to the trash. So for that, what I have to do is we need to capture the elements. Let's say first I will move the first element. Okay. So let's inspect the first element. And if I just look at this is basically an image. Okay. This is a basically image. And if I just go a little bit up, which is available in the list and under UL, and all these things available inside the body, and this body contains inside the HTML, and this whole thing is available in the iframe. So if I just look at here this page, the whole thing, these all items are available inside the iframe. So to interact with these elements, first we need to switch to this iframe, then we can interact with this element. So I already have one iframe here, and inside the iframe, the whole thing is available. So before doing interaction of these elements, first let's go to the iframe. So go to selector hub and get the XPath of the iframe because I don't see any ID or name for that. And I'll switch to the iframe by passing a iframe as a web element. So I say one method called driver dot switch to dot frame, and here we can, if the name or ID is directly available for the frame, you can directly pass it in the double quotations. Sometimes you may not find name or ID directly. In those cases, you can pass that frame as a web element. So how we can pass here, we need to identify. I'll say driver dot find element by dot XPath. We already captured XPath of the iframe, so that we need to pass. So that's it. So this command will switch to the particular frame, whichever frame we pass here as a web element. So this command will switch to the frame, and then we can interact with the element. So now let me inspect the first element. Let's try to inspect the first element, and which is given one XPath. Let me try to inspect properly. Let's refresh the page first of all. Okay, now let us try to inspect the first element. This is my first element. And if I just look at here, just say it is saying //li, and which is basically present inside the UL and which is basically inside the body and header HTML. So anyway, we switch to that particular frame, so we can directly use this XPath. One element is matching, so use this XPath. I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, and this is the source element, the first element, which is my source element. I can say item 1, item 2 like this. So this is I'm calling it as item 1, and this is a web element. This is a web element. Okay. Now import this web element. Now we need to move this element, or we need to drag this element to the trash. So we need to also locate the trash. So before that, I will try to locate the second element also, so that I want to move the second element also into the trash. So let us highlight the second element and inspect the second element like this. Refresh the page once again. All right, so now inspect the second element. So this is li of 2. Go back, and the same thing I'm copying. This is item 2, and the XPath of the element is li of 2. So now I capture the two elements, item 1 and item 2. Now I need to drag them to trash. So let's try to inspect the trash, which is a target element. So when you inspect the trash here, so which is giving one XPath,
So let's capture the XPath of the trash. And this is my target element. So I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify that XPath. This is my target element trash. So web element, name it as a trash element. Okay, so now I have a two source elements, one target element. So I need to drag item 1 and item 2 to the trash. So let's see how to drag it. So to perform the drag and drop, we have to use actions class. So let's create an actions act equal to new actions, and you can pass the driver instance here, and then import this actions class and import the here. And once we have done this act dot, there is a method called drag and drop directly, which we have seen in the previous example. So use the same method. And what is the source? Item 1 I want to move to the trash. So this is a one dot perform. So we must call this method called perform, otherwise your action will not be completed. And similarly I'll try to move the item 2 also into the same trash. So two methods I'm invoking here. So these two methods are moved elements or moved both the items. Okay, both the items into trash. So this is how we can do that. Now let us try to execute and see how it is going to work. Let's run as Java application. Chrome driver was started successfully and launching my browser, opening my application URL. Now we can just observe here, and now we can see the first element is got moved and the second element is also got moved to trash. So this is how also we can drag and drop images. So far we have seen three different actions: right click action, double click, and drag and drop. Now finally we'll see how to perform mouse over action. Sometimes we can also do mouse over action in our applications. Now let us see how to perform the mouse over action. So I'll show you one more example or one more application. Let me open it. And here I have this application. Let's go to Google Chrome and open this application URL. So in this, you can just look at here. What is mouse over action means? We can just place a mouse cursor on a particular element. Now you can see there are other options are displayed. Similarly, if I just try to move the mouse cursor on some other elements like this, it is populating some other element. This is called as a mouse over operation. Mouse over, just place the mouse cursor on that particular element. That's called mouse over action. Now here my requirement is, as soon as I launch my application, I just go to the desktops. Just I want to put my mouse on the desktops and then mouse over to Mac, and then I will perform the click action here. So first I will move my mouse cursor on the desktop. There's a mouse over action. Then again, one more mouse over action I will perform. I'll move on the Mac, and then also click action I will perform here. Okay, mouse over and click, both actions I will perform on the Mac. So let us try this operation for mouse over. Let's create a new class and I will name it as mouse over action. Take the main method and say finish. So I'll copy this WebDriver manager and Chrome driver as usual. So the first statement, which will set up the Chrome browser, we no need to pass the location of the Chrome driver, so which will automatically set it up, and then driver instance we created. So as soon as we created that WebDriver instance, then we have to launch our application. So I say driver.get, and here I will pass this application URL. So once you pass it, then I'll try to maximize the page. For that, I say driver.manage.window.maximize. So this will maximize the page. So as soon as it is maximized, then I'll mouse over to the desktop. So first, let us find the desktop element. So when I inspect the desktop, go to selector hub and you can see the relative XPath. I'm just capturing it. And first the find the element, on which element you need to perform the mouse over action. So driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify the XPath and get this element. So this is the element. On this element, I need to perform the mouse over action. So this is basically desktop menu. So I'll say desktops menu. And this is a web element. So I say web element, import this web element. And now this is a element we need to perform the mouse over. And after that, there is one more element. As soon as put the mouse over here, there is one more element called Mac. So this is a menu item. So here also I need to perform the mouse over action. So let us try to inspect this element also. And this is the XPath which is given. So copy this XPath, get that element also. So I say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify that XPath, and I say web element. And this is a Mac menu item. I say Mac menu item element. So now I captured desktop menu item, and this is a menu. This is a main menu item. This is a sub menu item. So now I perform the mouse over action on the desktops, and then mouse over action on the Mac, and then perform the click action. And here we have to do this through mouse operation. So we have to create a actions class object. Actions act equal to new actions, and here we have to pass the driver instance and import this actions class from org-opencare.selenium.interactions. And then here, first thing, act dot, there is a method called move to element. Move to element will perform the mouse over action. So target element we have to specify. First we need to mouse over on the desktop menu, so that we have to pass. And this will mouse over on the first element, that is desktop. But from there we need to move to Mac. There is one more mouse over action. So followed by, you can write multiple actions also. So move to element to desktop menu. From there again move to element. The second element is Mac menu item, and then this will perform the mouse over action. So now we are here, and on this element what you have to perform, we need to perform the click action. So here we can access a method called click directly, and this click method is accessing from the actions class. So we have to specify the perform. So without perform method, these operations will not be completed. So perform method should be there. So this will complete the, or this will actually perform the action. So act dot move element to desktop menu. From there again move element to menu item. There we perform the click action and perform. So this whole statement will perform the mouse over action. So now let us try to execute and see how it's going to work. Right click, run as Java application. So launching my browser, opening my application URL. Now just observe here, it went to desktop, click on the Macs, and now we got the Mac page here. So that means mouse over is successfully done. So this is how we can perform the mouse over action. So there are multiple methods we can use. So for right click, we can use context method, context click method. For double click, we have directly method is available called direct double click method. And for drag and drop also, we have direct method available called drag and drop. And mouse over, we have a move to element method. So by using these actions class methods, we can perform the mouse related operations in Selenium WebDriver. All right. So that's all for this video, guys. In the next video, we will see a few more important questions. So thanks for watching.